So welcome, Patsy. We met in Hawaii recently, right?
Yes, we did.
At a Meta Health conference, and you and I had a session regarding a remnant, let's say, or a resurgence. That's the right term of your Crohn's disease. I got that right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So you signed up for a session, and we were going to do that. But give us a little history of your Crohn. You at one point, a few years ago, actually.
Several years ago, yes.
Yeah, you used EFT in a skillful way and got what appeared to be completely over your Crohn's, correct?
Yes, I term it overcame my Crohn's disease with EFT, getting to the root of a lot of emotional issues that I had suppressed and not dealt with properly. And within several months, I was feeling incredibly healthy, and that's lasted for many years. The Crohn's isn't completely healed. It came up last year with some work-related issues, but I know now that it's just a barometer for how my life is going and what I need to take care of.
Yeah, and I think thank you for that. That's an important distinction because a lot of people think that EFT is some magic thing, and once you've taken care of it, it never comes back, and all this other kind of stuff. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
But oftentimes what we've done is we've cleared away whatever is causing it for now. Right. You can always go back and have stress another time, and here comes some of your symptoms again because that's how your body reacts to stress. And that's what was going on, I believe, in your workplace, more stress coming up. And Okay. So when we were in Hawaii, you were having some resurgence. I think you told me you had some kind of a tapping session before Hawaii.
Yeah, I was feeling, since the summer, I was getting a lot of symptoms back again. Not terribly serious, but very bothersome. And so I did a session. I've tapped through the summer, and it's relieved things, but I got to a really good, important issue, tapping on my own just before I went to Hawaii. So I felt like a lot of the physical symptoms had cleared, but I was still worried about what I was eating there. And the day when we did the optimal EFT, I did feel a little sensation in my right side.
I think you said it was like a 3 or something like that.
Right.
Okay. And so what I was doing in Hawaii was talking really at a presentation I was making about optimal EFT. And then you signed up for a session. We had one. So I think you started off at like your symptoms were like a 3 or something.
Right.
Right. Okay. And so one of the things I want to point out here is just to kind of give a little heads up for those people listening in. The optimal EFT that we were doing reduced the physical symptoms down to 0 during our session. Correct?
Yes, and so much so that I had intended not to eat macadamia nuts in Hawaii because that would be a trigger for Crohn's disease. But I went out and bought some and have eaten some since then without any repercussions as a test.
Okay, so but the thing I want to emphasize here is that we probably could have gotten that level by doing yet more tapping on emotional issues. But with optimal EFT, we're also aiming at those emotional causes, but we're aiming at something deeper still, more foundational still, and that's this belief in separation, this illusion that the quantum physicists and other spiritual disciplines are now telling us about this world. Okay, so we're starting to aim at that. We're bringing love into the process. We're bringing what we call the unseen therapist into that. And so we did 2 things with it. This is what I want to have you comment on. One is we would probably have gotten done with the tapping. The physical symptoms subsided.
Right.
But something else happened that we don't normally expect with tapping, and that was?
Well, it just brought this incredible sense of peace and relief. And I'd written to you about, well, there were several things that happened. One was I just didn't feel any concern about the emotional issues we had discussed anymore. It was like so in my past, it was totally meaningless. I felt...
To interject a second, though, but in there were some grievances and some, some pretty heavy resentments and things like that.
Yes, yes.
The kind of things you don't typically wave your hand at,
Well, the things, and I had been holding on to them very tightly. And, trying to let go. Part of me wanted to let go. I was trying to let go through EFT. And yet I was still holding on to some of it.
Yeah. Okay. So you commented to me after our session, which was about an hour long, that you felt this great sense of peace. And I asked you the next day, I said, how is that peace now? I mean, you had your night go by, et cetera, et cetera. Are you still at a 10 or is it starting to fade? And you said?
It was still a 9, whatever it was, 10, 8. I can't remember the number. It was 9 or 10, I think it felt. Really good. I felt like I was just kind of floating all the way back to my hotel, and I just had this wonderful lightness of heart.
And it's now, what, 2 weeks later?
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
And the peace is still at that level, some other level? What?
Yeah, the peace is still at that level. There have been some upsets through the last couple of weeks at work and in other situations, and it just hasn't ruffled me at all.
Oh, okay. And there were some, I mean, the significance of some of these things going on in the workplace were such that you're a school teacher and you were considering retiring. Okay.
I made up my mind that this year would be my last because I just was carrying some feelings that weren't great, that I didn't want to have affect my health.
Yeah. Okay. And now apparently those things are out of the way, and you're...
I know. I went back to school, and I was sort of, first of all, thinking this is interesting. I'm not feeling like I want to retire anymore. And I even said to the principal last week, that workshop was so inspiring. I don't want to retire anymore. And just to let you know, and she said, oh, that's wonderful. So, and I'm thinking, I'm not ready. And it's been a total shift in what my ideas and plans and thinking have been.
Well, this is an important concept, Patsy, and I thank you for that, because a lot of people look towards any kind of healing method, optimal EFT, regular EFT, whatever, as something that is going to take care of a given specific issue I have. I have this memory about so-and-so, and I don't want it to give me nightmares anymore. I have this pain someplace in my body. I want that fixed, etc. And that's what we tend to think, we tend to shoot for when we go into some kind of a healing session, a therapy session, visit a doctor, or whatever the case may be. But we're aiming for something bigger than that, and we're getting it in many cases. And that's this sense of peace, this sense of lightness, this sense that the conventional means of healing tend not to give you. Those are my words. Put your own words around that.
I think, and yeah, it's just, even when it's like a ship on the seas, even though there's waves all around, nothing is rocking my boat.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
And there have been things that could, anger triggers and emotional upsets. And I mean, with kids at school, you're always holding on to their emotions and caring for them. And it's just been peaceful. And with everybody else there too, for me.
What was, I'm trying to think of this metaphor, the ultimate sense of peace is if you're in the middle of a hurricane, I'm kind of making this up, but if you're in the middle of the hurricane and everybody else is screaming and yelling and having problems all around you, and trees are being uprooted and people are screaming and everything else, and you're sitting there, you know, playing cards,
Yeah, it's like
oblivious to the whole thing.
I know.
That's
So
the ultimate in peace.
that's what I felt like. I'm the eye of the tornado. Like nothing's bugging me.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Sure.
triggering me.
All right.
So I hope that lasts.
Well, I tell you, and it may not. One reason I asked you about the next day and even now about how it happens, you know, life tends to hit us in the face,
Right.
and gives us all these reasons to have, you know, some more resentments and some more stress and some more this and some more that. And so typically what we need to maintain that is more and more practice and keep at it so that we may go in and out of this piece, but eventually if we keep practicing, we get more and more and more so that peaceful level is a permanent level.
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts to get better and better from there. You know?
Well, yeah, because people who around me who are, you know, before I might have engaged in some sort of conflict or been triggered, it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm not owning this.
All right. Okay, Patsy, I thank you so much. A lot of people are going to get a lot out of this because they're looking for peace like we all are. So.
Right, for sure. Well, thanks, Gary.
All right, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.